Hi everyone, welcome. Nice to have you back if you're returning, and welcome if it's your first time. My name's Jamal and I'm going to be talking to you today about the TOEFL integrated writing task, which is the first writing task in the TOEFL test. So what we're going to do is I'm going to describe to you the task one, talk to you a bit about note-taking, show you a suggested structure, and then you're going to have a chance to actually write your own integrated essay. So this is what the task instructions look like. On your computer screen, this is what you're going to see. So for this task, you're going to read a passage about an academic topic. There'll be a clock at the top of the screen that shows how much time you have to read. And then you can take notes while you read. The passage is then removed and you listen to a lecture on the same topic. You should take notes while you listen. You then have 20 minutes to write a response to the question that asks you about the relationship between a reading passage and the lecture. The question does not ask you to express your personal opinion. And you should write between 150 to 225 words. So yes, you're asked to describe or talk about the relationship between the information in the passage and the information that you hear in the lecture. Sometimes, so it's going to be on the same topic, but sometimes the lecture is going to contradict the reading passage. So it's going to say something opposite to it. Or the lecture might support the information in the reading passage and give more details. But it's more common for the lecture to actually contradict or have a different opinion than what is expressed in the reading passage. Okay, after you see the instructions, you're going to see the reading passage on the left side of the screen, and you're going to have 2 minutes to read it. And the time is going to be displayed on the top right corner there. Then you're going to hear the lecture on the same topic. And the lecture is probably around 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. After the lecture, you're going to get the reading displayed again on the left. And then in the blank part of the screen on the right, that's where you're going to type your essay. And here are your directions. Read the question below. You have 20 minutes to plan, write, and revise your essay. Typically, an effective response will contain a minimum of 300 words. Sorry, that should be about a minimum of 150 words. Summarize the points made in the lecture you just heard, explaining how they cast doubt on points made in the reading. So what does cast doubt mean? It means explain how the points in the lecture contradict or say something opposite to or disprove the points in the reading passage. Okay, so here's the note-taking. Notes while you listen. So as you listen, you want to note down the main ideas and details from the lecture. The main point will come before the explanation, reasons, examples. So that means that the lecturer will usually introduce the main point or the main idea and then explain it. They're also going to use transitions, transition words like, first I'd like to talk to you about. For example, next we're going to talk about. So these transition words are really important. They're going to help you to recognize when a new main idea is coming. When you take your notes, try to use your own words. Try not to copy word for word. You're only going to hear the audio once, and you'll use the information from your listening notes to write your essay. You can take reading notes if you want to, but you don't have to because the passage is going to be displayed on the left side of the screen as you write. Here's a note template. So what you'd want to do ideally is put the main ideas in a left-hand column and the details on the right side, the related details. So let's look at an example. This is for a different audio lecture than the one we're going to be hearing, but it serves our purposes. So the lecturer talks about vegetarianism and why people should become vegetarians. And the lecturer gives 3 reasons. There's the historical reason, the ethical reasons, and the health-related reasons. So usually the lecturer and the reading passage are going to talk about 3 main ideas. And then they're going to explain more information and elaborate on those main ideas. And that's what we call details. And they're going to go on your right-hand side. Now, when you start writing, it's useful to have a structure in mind, okay, so that you know how to actually organize your ideas. So I'm going to show you a structure, and it's a suggested structure. So like with any structure, it should be flexible, okay? You don't have to memorize it word for word or use it in exactly the same way, but it's just sort of useful to have there so that you can draw on it on test day. So you could start it with the first sentence. While the passage states that, and then the topic. So while the passage states that, for example, people should become vegetarian, the lecture expresses a different point of view. First, the passage claims that, and then you're going to give the first main idea, and that's going to come from your notes. So if you remember the notes we just looked at, the first main idea was for historical reasons. It argues, so what argues? The passage. It argues that, and then you're going to give details there related to the first main idea. And these could be statistics, examples, or more data. However, the lecture states that, and this is the opposing main idea. Now, it's the same thing. So it's going to be the same idea related to history, for example. This is evident in. And then proceed to give the details or examples. Second, the passage asserts that, second main idea, this is supported by the claims that, details. This contradicts the lecture which states that, again, the opposing main idea. It's the same idea, but it's the opposite view. This is supported by evidence that, and this is where you give ideas to support that opposing view. Third, the passage argues that, and here you can give the main idea and details together. However, the lecture states that, third main idea, this is supported by the assertion that. All right, you can see here that there's 4 paragraphs. The first sentence just tells me what the topic is and introduces the idea that the passage and the lecture have different opinions on the topic. Then I have 3 paragraphs. Each one deals with one of the main ideas discussed. Let's look at some of the language. Let's look at the words highlighted in bold. States, expresses, claims, argues, asserts. These are what we call reporting verbs. And we use these when we want to say something that someone else has said. All right, so we want to report information from another source. So these are excellent words for you to know so that you can use them for this task. Then we have phrases like, this is supported by. And this is a nice passive structure that introduces further information or supporting ideas. And here we have some useful transition words. So while, to introduce an opposing idea, while the passage states that, the lecturer expresses a different point of view. Then we have first, second, and third to introduce the 3 main ideas. This contradicts and however. So these are useful words and phrases to introduce your opposing ideas. So there's some useful vocabulary for you. All right, it's time to practice reading, listening, and writing. So this is the time, if you haven't already, to grab a pen and a notepad or a piece of paper so that you can practice your notes. So remember, what you want to do is create a little table with your main ideas on the right and your details on the left, like we have previously seen. All right, so I'm going to display the passage now, and you're going to have 2 minutes to read it and take notes if you like. Your time starts now. Okay, that's your reading time. Now, you should have noticed that there were 3 main ideas there. There was the general topic, which was about why people or why teachers should teach at private schools. And then the passage gave 3 reasons, right? Or 3 topics. So what were they? The first reason was flexible options. The second was benefits. And the third was class sizes. All right, so there were the 3 main ideas. Now, as you listen to the lecture, you're going to notice that the lecturer is also going to talk about the same 3 ideas, but is going to give an opposite point of view. Okay, so get ready to listen and take notes.
As teachers in training and being in your graduating year, you're probably all considering where to apply for your first teaching job, public or private. Much has been written about these sectors, but I'm going to talk to you today about the benefits of teaching in a public school. There are really 3 main benefits. There are more opportunities, the compensation is better, and despite what you may think, class sizes are smaller. First, let's start with the opportunities public teaching offers. Because there are many more public than private schools, there are a great number of teaching positions available in the public sector. There is also a good chance of finding the grade level or subject area position you want. Teachers looking to move into administrative roles will also find more opportunities in the public school systems. Another benefit is the retirement plans for public school teachers are also a major draw. If an individual is planning to teach for a full career, or at least 20 years, the retirement plan is well worth the years of service. Next is the pay. Though private schools generally have more money, public school teachers typically make more than their private school counterparts. Generally, salaries in urban and suburban areas are higher than in rural areas. In recent years, private schools have increased salaries to compete with public schools in recruiting highly qualified applicants, but they still haven't reached the pay level of public school teachers. Finally, class sizes. Many teachers prefer private schools because of the smaller class sizes. However, states have passed laws that require better student-to-teacher ratios in the public schools. Class size in elementary school is now pretty much comparable to private. Okay, I can see at the back there. You have a question?
Okay, how did you find the lecture? Now, next step is writing. So you're going to use your notes that you just took from the listening, and you're going to see the reading passage displayed on the left of the screen. So it's going to look something like this. And I'm going to give you 15 minutes to use your notes and the structure that we just looked at, including the vocabulary, to write your response. Okay, so your question is, let me just find the question. So what you need to do is summarize the points made in the lecture and compare them to the points made in the reading. So summarizing the lecture, comparing them to the points made in the reading. And so remember that you're actually contrasting the information, because the lecturer was talking about the benefits of teaching in private schools, whereas the reading was talking about the benefits of teaching in public schools. All right, so you need to talk about the different information and the different points of view that were given. So you can write your answer using your pen and paper, so that way you can keep a copy of your response. Okay, and then you can compare it to the response that I'm going to show you once your time is up. Here goes. All right, guys, that was 15 minutes. So hopefully you were able to finish writing the essay. Also, you want to make sure in the actual test read for structure, for any grammar or vocabulary mistakes, making sure that what you've written makes sense, and making sure that you've included all of the main ideas and details. All right, let's take a look now at my essay, and you can compare it to your sample. So here's my essay. While the passage states that teaching in private schools is a better option for teachers, the lecture expresses a different point of view. First, the passage claims that private schools offer better opportunities and more flexible options. It argues that teachers can work part-time if they need to, and also teachers do not need a state teaching certificate. However, the lecture states that teaching in public schools provides more opportunities, as there are more positions available and teachers are more likely to be able to teach the grade level and subject that they want. Second, the passage asserts that teaching in private schools has more financial benefits. This is supported by the claims that private school teachers receive health insurance and can enroll their children at the same school for free or at a much lower cost. This contradicts the lecture, which states that private schools actually provide better benefits. This is supported by evidence that the salaries are higher and that public school teachers get a retirement plan. Third, the passage argues that class sizes in private schools are smaller, which makes teaching easier and the workload smaller. However, the lecture states that this is not the case. This is supported by the assertion that recently state laws have been passed that reduce the number of students per class, and these numbers are now almost even. So how does that sample compare to yours? So as you can see, I've used the 4-paragraph structure. I've introduced what the lecture and passage were about. And then I've said that they actually disagree or contradict each other. And then each of the following paragraphs, I've talked about one of the main ideas. So in paragraph 1, I talked about opportunities and flexible options. Paragraph 2, I talked about financial benefits. And paragraph 3, I talked about class sizes. Okay, let's take a look now at how the writing is evaluated. I'll just talk to you a bit about that. You're scored on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is the lowest and 5 is the highest. 0 is only given to people who write completely off topic, so don't actually address the task. Your writing is then summed up and it's converted to a score out of 30. Okay, now it's actually marked using an automated scoring technology, and I've taken this from the ETS website. ETS is the company that owns the TOEFL test, and what they use, the program that they use is called E-Rater. All right, and it's a program that basically has analyzed hundreds of essays and has been actually compared against actual teacher marking to get the same kinds of results, to make sure that it's actually, scoring you accurately. And what it actually looks for is grammar, mechanics, language use, the organization of your writing, and the development of your ideas. Okay. Yeah, so relevance, organization, and there we are. Relevance, organization, and language. They're the main things that you want to focus on. How relevant were the ideas that you discussed, and how well were they linked? How well organized was your essay? So putting all of the ideas sort of together. And then your language use. So this is talking about grammar and vocabulary, but also talking about words like reporting verbs that I talked about earlier, and transition words. Okay, some advice when preparing for the TOEFL writing task 1. You want to practice as much as you can. So I would say do 1 to 2 practice tasks per week using the e2language.com website. So that's going to include some audios, some passages, and sample questions. You should also practice your listening every day. There are a couple of websites for listening that I've put there for you. So TED is a really good website. It contains lectures on every topic that you can possibly find. So I suggest that you listen to the lectures and actually practice your note-taking skills as you listen. And then you can actually see the transcript, so the actual written version of the lecture. And then you can go back and read the transcript and compare the transcript to your notes to make sure that you've gotten all of the main ideas. You should also listen to podcasts. So podcasts are great to practice your listening skills, and you can choose whatever topics that you're interested in to listen to. When it comes to reading, you should really read about life sciences, social sciences, and humanities, because these are really what the TOEFL, these are the types of sort of topics that the TOEFL covers. So life sciences talks about biology, medicine, ecology, so you might find topics related to those. Social sciences includes sociology, psychology, anthropology, political science. And humanities relates to topics about art, languages, literature, history, and philosophy. So what I would do is I would read an article from one of these 3 categories each day, okay, to sort of start getting, a wider range of knowledge of these topics. It helps to familiarize yourself with the topics, really great for vocabulary development as well. So I've put here at the bottom of the screen some reading and listening links that you might want to use. So bbc.com/earth. That's a great website for life sciences. Also National Geographic is also a good one. Sage Journals. This is pretty much covers all of the 3 disciplines there, and a couple more. So The Conversation or phys.org. So that one there, those last 2 deal with social sciences. So yeah, the more you read and the more you listen, the better prepared you're going to be, because obviously you're going to have a broader range of knowledge and vocabulary. So yep, if you have any questions, guys, I can open up the floor to questioning now. Questions related to note-taking, listening, reading, the structure of the task, any of the vocabulary that you saw in this lesson, timing of the task. Did you find it difficult, easy? Yeah, so the word count for this one, it's between 150 to 225. So the minimum words that you need to write are 150 and the maximum is 225. So it's kind of a bit flexible, anywhere within that range. And also as you're typing, it's going to show you the word count at the top of the screen so you can see how many words you've written. And good question, David. If you write more than 225 words, it's not a big deal. You're not going to be penalized for writing over, but you just don't want to run out of time. So that's all. If you start to sort of write a response that's too long, you risk actually running out of time. And you also risk not having enough time at the end to go back and proofread what you've written. So try to keep it around 200 words. Mine, actually, the sample that I showed you was, 227. So I was a little bit over. Now, if you type quickly, that's a benefit. So the good thing about the TOEFL test is that it's not handwritten. It's all typed on a keyboard. So if you're a quick typer, that's definitely an advantage. Any other questions? Okay, so go and practice, go and visit some of the reading websites that I mentioned, National Geographic and BBC Earth. There's some good ones. Listen to a TED Talk per day if you can, and practice your note-taking skills. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye.